What is going on, y'all? Welcome back to another breakdown. Today we're going to look at cinematic interview lighting, and this is a piece from BBC called Once Upon a Time in Iraq. Okay, let's jump in. Okay, so this trailer is a series of the interview shots, a couple of drones, and a couple of the war pictures out of Iraq. It's a mix of journalists speaking, U.S. Marines, and locals from Iraq, from Fallujah and Baghdad. Okay, so let's take a look. Let's just look at the lighting source, because most of the lighting on these shots is probably done by two lights, if in some cases even one light. So I think for the most part, I want to just point out that the background, probably they have a some kind of black fabric on either some C-stands or light stands, tripod stands. So this one, we know we have one light source, probably with a nice softbox on it that's just coming right down through the side of her face. Now we know, because of the way that these interviews is set up, that our camera is always going to be on the opposite side of the light, filming that way. Now I'll show you what I mean in this next shot. Okay, so for example, we have the light source coming right down through here, and that's creating a nice fall off on the shadows, and that's what's creating this more moody area. And then now, like I said before, we have the camera on this side filming this way. Now when I was first starting to shoot interviews, I actually did the opposite. I would keep the light on the same side as my camera was, and that doesn't create the same effect as this is creating. This is creating a much more beautiful and smooth effect by having the light and the camera on opposite sides. And I think this is what we want to achieve, what we want to go for, to create this moody scene. And this one's probably just got one light. I mean, we have one light in his eye, and I don't think there's even another light in this shot. So this is creating a really beautiful look with just one light. Okay, next shot. So we have this young man, and once again we have the light source now on the other side, and then we have here one hair light that's giving you a bit more. Now I think what's really interesting about this setting is they must have rented out a studio space or rented out for 2-3 days to do these series of interviews, and just said, okay, how can we make this the simplest as possible to be able to make sure that we can light up each subject in its own way to make that subject look good without taking too much time to pick up and break down between each interview, so we can maximize our time in this location. Their use of two cameras, when we come from this mid shot, and then once again we have our tight shot that's a bit higher. I mean, in terms of its elevation, the camera is higher and looking down onto the subject, and the same has happened on a latter interview, and the same has happened in the next shot we have too. But in terms of the actual lens and camera, I think on this tighter shot they're using something that's, and let's go full screen here, they're most likely using something like a 70-200 on an f2.8 aperture, and that's creating this sharpness on his nose, and then you can see how it falls off into soft focus in the background. And once again we have one light source coming down on his face and one hair light, and the camera, as we're saying, is going to be on the opposite side of the light, capturing our subject. Okay, so two lights creating an amazing effect. Okay, once again here, same thing. Lights on one side, camera is on the other, facing our subject. And here you can really see that f2.8 in effect. It might even be a macro lens, but I'm going to say it's an f2.8. Now this is probably my favorite interview of this series, and we have our one light facing down here that's creating a really nice shadow along the side of his face, really keeping this mood going. And then we have a great backlight that's just lighting up the back and spilling over here to the front. Now this might be keeping, now this light might be enough to bring out a little bit of this section here on his cheek, but I think if not, there's a bounce here, there's a bounce card that's bringing some of that light back from this light. So the bounce is reflecting to fill in this a little bit. Let's move forward. These ladies have the same. Looks like just one light to me. One light is all you need to create this effect. Again, I just want to talk about finally this woman at the end here, because they've done something slightly different where they have one light coming in here. Once again, our camera is always on the opposite side, filming that way. And they've probably brought one light closer to the right side of her face, just bringing a little bit to smooth off the harshness of the shadow from her nose. And her whole face is looking very soft. There's enough on her hair, enough on her face. And you can actually see here, if I look, you can see the two lights in her eye reflection. So there are two lights here, one here and one over here. Okay, let's scroll on to the end. And then with our last interview in this teaser, one light here, camera's going to be on the opposite side looking forward, and then one hair light. So as you can see, you're really creating amazing cinematic lighting just with one light or two lights in this situation to create a lot of mood, a lot of depth. And this is something that when I started using the light on the opposite side, really showing an improvement in my work and in the effect of the lighting that we get. Now this gets a bit more complicated when we have an interviewer and an interviewee, so we're using two cameras with a reverse and trying to avoid these lightings. And I want to do a video where I can break that down too, because we're going to need different kind of light stands that will make themselves to be out of the shot but still create this effect. So I hope you guys like this and this is enjoyable for you. I like breaking these down because every time I look at these and really study them, it makes me a better cinematographer, a better filmer, and a better viewer. So if you like this kind of content, please like the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, peace.